we're very excited to have Chiaki O'Brien, who is a Sayuri certified instructor since 2001 and has studied at the head of the Sayuri Studio in Osaka, Japan. She's also the founder of Sayuri Studio Fun in Bloomington, Minnesota. And she works with a lot of people with disabilities. We're very excited to hear about her own artwork and weaving with other people and those experiences. And fun fact, Chiaki is also a taiko performer and instructor. And taiko is a Japanese form of drumming. So she's going to be in conversation with Nitsa Danieli, who is a wonderful teaching artist and educator at the Metropolitan Museum of Art since 2002, who runs the Discoveries program for people with disabilities at the Met. She's also the artist in residence at Columbia University Medical Center in the Pediatric Neurology Clinic for the Hope and Heroes program there, which is a wonderful program. And she's also a mixed media artist herself and a sculptor. So thank you so much, both of you, for being here. And for our attendees, I'd like to say that we're going to keep the Q&A and any questions that you have for the end of the talk. But feel free to put in your questions in the Q&A and also in the chat, but we will address them at the end. If there's also the option for live captioning. It's at the bottom of your screen, and you can click the live transcript button if you would like to do so. Okay, so thank you so much. And I'd like to introduce Chiaki and Nitsa.
Hello, Chiaki. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everybody. I'm Chiaki.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening to talk about a fascinating process of weaving that nurtures mistakes, and how many of us have not dealt with the agony of making mistakes, or with the question, do I throw away something old and buy something new? So I'm super excited today to introduce to you an amazing artist, Chiaki O'Brien. Hello again.
Hi.
So exciting.
I'm so excited too.
Yes, I do have a PowerPoint presentation that I'd like to share with everyone. Mm-hmm. So bear with me and technology, and that would be coming up. And look at those colors. It's amazing.
Yeah, actually this piece is actually 14 years long. And it's just a little bit part of the long piece. And I grew up watching Heidi in Alps in Japan. It was a cartoon, and I just loved it. I wanted to be Heidi. So I wanted to go to Switzerland for a long time. So this piece, the 14 years long, is my Alps, the extreme flowers, and some parts there's snow. You don't see it in this part. So I actually exhibit this long piece, and somebody came up to me and what is this piece about? So I told her about the story, grew up, watching Heidi. And she said, I've been there and it was not that beautiful there. Your piece is much more beautiful than being Alps. So actually, fortunately, in a couple of years after I created this piece, I visited. I went to Alps. And it was beautiful.
So how about we go back and fly over the ocean to Japan, to your childhood and the life you led prior to your life-changing encounter with Sayuri and Misao Jo. Would you like to share?
Yes. I actually, Sayuri changed my life big time. And Sayuri is not just a weaving style. It's a life size. And when I first went to Sayuri, I didn't know what Sayuri was. So I just got curious because I wanted to try something new. And then the head school in Osaka had a window said, Sayuri, we need students. So I don't know what Sayuri is. Sayuri is a usually typical Japanese girl's name. So anyway, I went to check it out one Saturday, and there are so many people with mental disabilities with their parents weaving. And as soon as I went in the studio, I said, oops, this is not the right place for me. It's a home ec. The girl who didn't like home ec, especially the sewing projects. Cooking, okay, but not sewing. I was thinking, why do you have to make your own garments? There are so many to choose from once you go buy, at stores. So I said, oh, this is a home ec, not for me. But one teacher came up to me and said, I'm sorry, we don't have any rooms open for you to try. I said, no, that's okay. I was kind of relieved. But he said, we have a gallery, Saori Gallery, so why don't you check it out? So I said, okay. And I know she's a mother of a daughter who has mental disabilities, and she teaches Saori in her area, in her community. And I think that most of her students have mental disabilities. And anyway, there were so many, dresses and scarves, very colorful. And a couple of dresses, I really liked the shapes. It was a, dress. But I thought, those are too bright to wear. And then the mother, now she's my friend, who was doing the exhibit, came up to me, oh, you have to try this on. So she made me try those dresses on, and I look at myself in the mirror, and it was not that, I thought it was so bright, but it's not. And I really liked it. And then my friend, the mother, said, you cannot find exact same dress anywhere in the world. And I said, who put it together? Because I cannot sew. And she said, you do it. We do. So I said, no, I can't. So I told her, my mom did all the projects. My mom didn't even teach me. She liked it. So she finished it. So I told her the story. And then she said, well, Saori is different. You don't want to cut the fabric into small pieces. Otherwise, nobody will know this is a hand woven. But anyway, I just, oh, this is home ec, this is home ec. So I just listened and okay, and I left. And then on the way back home, what she said, one of a kind, that stuck in my head. And I said, okay, let me try it. There is a 3-month trial course. So in 3 days, I went back and signed up for 3 months.
So before you actually walked into the Sayori experience, what was your artistic life like?
Nothing. I didn't like arts. I only liked music. I was in a choir, I took piano lessons, but not art. I don't have any background of art.
And I remember when we previously spoke, you told me how unusual it was for you to see a universal environment where all people are creating in a unique way and are able to nurture mistakes into beautiful being.
Yes.
So that really excited me as someone who works with all individuals and learning more than those who are very, very different than me. I am so adoring the work that you're doing. I'd like to share a few of your pieces, if that's okay with you.
Yes, please.
Please tell us a bit about this.
Last few years, I know some of you probably know the vocabulary Boro. For me, it's a no waste. So Boro is a famous guy in Japan, studied this Boro collections. And for me, since I have like 12 rooms, I usually set up all the rooms and then go teach or teach at the studio. And I don't want to waste anything. So people who knows about weaving, there's a warp or the vertical thread. And I make enough for 3-4 workshops. So maybe 7-8 years long. And, people weave and then the warp gets this short. I cannot use it anymore, but I don't want to waste. So I usually finish weaving just a foot long with even the weft is even from the treasure basket, which means it's all strands. So next few slides are all from my Boro no waste project. So these are all the swing. This one is, I just weave about 3, maybe 2-inch wide straps from one connected warp.
I researched the word borrow, and I noticed that there is a term, and correct me if I'm wrong, boro, which
Yes.
refers to how people of low income would just take items that were wasted and maybe dirty or no good, and be able to stitch them together. I think boro is also a word for a one stitch process, and create clothes that would be more affordable than going and buy something, but also would be unique and original. So I was so in a spiritual way connecting to the idea of recyclable items and things that we think are useless to be able to function, to bring back to function.
Yeah. So I read a Boro book. The people back in time, people didn't waste even like a black bean size of fabric. They kept it and they just attached, because the Boro kind of people in the north part of Japan, it's cold. And so they have to kind of, even the small, patch of fabric, they attach and make it thicker to make themselves warm. So same thing, for the cooking, I don't want to waste something in the fridge.
Of course.
Yeah.
I wish we could say it about our cell phones, your cell phone after 2-3 years,
yeah,
you throw it away and get a new one. So.
Yeah. So it's a very good thing that, try not to waste and use it in a creative way and be happy.
And then when you go into the natural life of the material, can you share with us a little bit how you chose the natural materials, how and what it is, and how was that an emotional connection for you to think about the source of the pieces that you're using?
For this particular piece, actually, I probably didn't use thrums, but I usually look at behind me is all the colors and textures.
I saw that. It's so great.
And some people say it's a candy store. Just try not to stay here for a long time to pick one.
Right.
So just they will tell me to pick me, So if I want to kind of, my heart tells me, oh, let's do kind of red. Because, so it's all about the moment of what I'm going to start creating.
So your process,
I don't have any image.
So your process is intuitive and you're just reaching out and working just from an urge.
Yes.
Without any need for perfect outcome.
Right. Just the moment you are going to start weaving.
Amazing. I'm so inspired. I told Raya at Sayori Arts that after the conversation with Eric Shiner, that I just really want to weave now. Mm-hmm. Let's look at something else.
Sure.
Wow.
This is also, Boro. Black one is not thrums, but all the colors, when I teach like 3-hour class, once people know what they're doing, they're having fun. I don't need to interact, because being in a moment, enjoying the process of weaving, no interaction is better. So I don't usually bring my loom to weave with everybody. So I connect all the thrums. So maybe if you look at close, you can see the connection. So I don't need to change colors, because it's all the colors mixed together, and I make a bow. So, and then I did the interlocking, black and all those thrums.
So is that weave stitched onto fabric?
Mm-hmm.
Did you wear it?
Yes, but this was actually, we have in Minnesota, we have a textile center. It's a nonprofit organization. And I think it's 2019, they had a fashion show. So the theme was like some kind of upcycle, recycle, organic, sustainable, that kind of theme fashion show. So this is, I submitted for the fashion show.
And it's the same dress front and back.
Yes, it's actually a long vest. Yeah, for me it's long because I'm short.
Oh, I see where it opens.
Yes.
That's incredible. How long did it take you to make something like that?
Well, since I didn't need to stand up because all the strands, I don't need to change colors. So it was quite fast, probably 2 days. I mean, to weave. I think I wove probably 5 or 6 years long.
That's incredible. Let's say something else.
Yeah, these are another Boro collection, my Boro collection. The knitting bag pins, I probably have made this over 200 so far. These are, you can buy those at the textile center. This was actually interesting. My mentor in Japan gave me a pin, the same kind of pin. And it was so intricate. I said, I cannot do that. It's so small. And then where did you get those needle, knitting needle? So I just used the gift and I didn't make it. One day I like to make this. And and then one day I was wearing it and somebody said, I like your pin. And I said, yeah, I like to make something like this, but I don't know where to get these knitting needles. Oh, those are the toothpicks and wooden beads. You just put the glue and here you are.
Amazing.
So I started making it probably 5 years ago or maybe a little longer. Yeah, so that's the little, I don't weave for this project. Everything is left over. Maybe I cut out the neck or just a little leftover piece. And then the wreath is from the strands. You don't even need to weave. Maybe some parts are probably woven. And then just wrap around the wreath. One of a kind wreath.
Do you dye the material yourself or?
Yeah, I am also Bengala mud dye. Bengala dye is also from Japan. It's a mud dye. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I dye for weaving, or I dye after I weave.
Incredible.
Yep. Yeah. So and then this tote bag is actually one of my students gave me a bin of denim. They were actually jeans. So there are many shades of blue jeans. And then she said, I think you can use this. I don't need them. So she gave me a bin full of jeans. I still have more than half. So I wanted, and then I watched YouTube to make this tote bag. There's a lining too. So when I first made this, I thought my mom will be surprised.
I was curious about that, and I was thinking, do I ask you or not? But how did your mother accept you taking a creative direction? Was that traditionally something she was thrilled about, or was it something that she was worried, now what are you gonna eat?
She was very, typical Japanese lady that she thinks, if you are this age, you don't need to start something new. I mean, she was a perfect knitter. She was a perfectionist. I don't think I got her, I have her blood. I think my father. So she was perfectionist. She was always knitting, counting. And I told her, you will have fun doing saori. You don't need to count. And she said, no, when I first told her, she was probably 60 something, or maybe a little younger. I'm not going to start something new this age. I'm, 60 or whatever. So that's very typical Japanese lady, but she learned everything by herself because she grew up, her parents was a farmer. So she had to cook for them. She had to fix, things for them. So she learned everything on her own. And I'm so sad that, she's gone. I didn't learn how to knit.
Right, but it sounds to me like there's a relationship between a mother and a daughter with growing up with the idea of perfection and dealing with the thought about it and trying to realize how do you really implement perfection into our humanity and daily life.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, not only you did something for you, but also she was able to witness your transformation and out of the country too. What year did you move to the States?
When?
Yeah.
2004.
In 2004. Did your art change being in USA?
My art changed? Probably. Now, natures, I see, the nature is so close to me, and then the wide space, compared where I used to live in Japan, like many cities and crowded, you have to go a little far away to be in the nature.
Yes.
That's a big impact.
Yes.
To let, like brush up and just relax and, just take a big breath, the fresh air.
Wonderful.
Yeah, listening to birds, walking in the woods. It's so close by. I think it's a big impact, what you create.
Yes, I wanted to do a shout out to my friend Reina, if she's in the audience. Thank you for coming. And Reina also loves Japan more than any other place in the world. And she paints. So she paints like Mount Fuji, and she's super creative. And I hope she's here today. And I just wanted to acknowledge her being here. I really am humbled by your presence here. Let's see the next slide.
Yep. These are another creations from a short warp that I can use.
Beautiful.
Thank you. My favorite color is blue. But I noticed when I start weaving, I have green on. I use lots of green. I still like blue better than green. Blue better than green. I love blue better than green, but I use lots of blue. So yeah, but these are also the Boro collections, especially the one on the left. It's very small, but it's so complicated. It took me a long time.
Can you explain the technical complications for those in the audience who are weavers and trying to figure out what was difficult about this?
Because you only weave like 1/2 inch and then next section maybe 1 inch instead of throwing a shadow like back and forth. You pick, I like to use this part white, maybe 2 inch. Then you only weave 2 inch. So that's kind of, instead of throwing shadow back and forth, it's, complicated.
It's very complicated.
So if it's this size, if you're just throwing shadow, maybe you can finish in 10 minutes.
I see it at the clinic where Sayuri Loom is at the clinic, and patients who are weaving by the art studio, things happen, and the coach is always there to assure that this is amazing because something else happened. And then I just barely breathe when I hear how long it takes them to prepare the loom for that experience day. It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. And I think every class, somebody will ask me, how long does it take to set up? So many people tells me like, if you come to my house and set up my loom, I will weave, or I will buy a loom if you come to my house and set up.
I wonder if any of you in the audience are weavers. How long does it take you to set up your loom? Why don't you leave it in the chat box so we can
that would be fun to
get some fun with it later on. And I love the difference with the seaweed piece.
Mm-hmm. I made a huge mistake when I was taking lessons back in Japan. So now once you know how to set up your own loom, you will know how the loom structures. So when I didn't know, I think many of you are weavers. I threaded the harness, there are two. I threaded both harness at the same time instead of one front, one back, one front, back, one back. I threaded both, and I was excited. Okay, I can weave, and I pushed the pedals and didn't open. The warp didn't open. I said, what did I do wrong? So I asked the teachers, and she said, oh my God, did you do all this? And then, so since then, such a big mistake, I will never repeat. And even it was a big mistake, my teacher remembered, even after several years, somebody did the same mistake, and I was there. So she said, Chiaki, look, it was a mistake you made.
And one day someone is going to use the same mistake and come up with a whole new style to weaving. Wait and see.
Yes, and then it's, my style is I learn from, mistakes. That's how I learn. So I always tell students, let's try it. And if it doesn't work, so what? You tried.
Beautiful.
So that's, sometimes people try to be perfect, finish something, that you are happy or you are kind of imagined. But it doesn't usually happen that way. And I don't want to teach perfect way. I think that's not Saori. Just because the process is more important than finished product.
Of course.
Yeah. So even, we don't have mistakes in Saori world. It's all happy accidents.
I know the whole issue of mistakes has to do also with the feeling you get when you walk into a space.
Mm-hmm.
And if you feel that you have a discrepancy in any way, your whole energy is different, and the reception you have to the activity or whatever it is the environment provides is just so different. There's nothing more encouraging than see that when you open the environment and say you're the only one in how you make it is your way.
Yes.
How this simple connection changes lives.
Yeah. It makes it so easy.
Tell me about these pieces, Chiaki.
These are not borrowed pieces anymore. The one on the left, so the one I mentioned, Textile Center, they do garage sale. So people donate things. And since it's a COVID, they didn't do the whole, very big garage sale, but they did a small version last fall for 3 months or 4 months in a row. Mm-hmm. And then the one on the left from a bag, this is a bag I got from the garage sale. So this was somebody's probably project that she or he gave up. So it was all chopped up with different kinds of, material, cotton, velvet, silk, wool, something I don't know, but all navy blue, which is my favorite color. So it was only like $2.
That's amazing.
And some are already had stitches. And so I wanted to that bag gave me the inspiration. Like they want to be together.
And how did the hole in the center come about?
I don't know. That moment.
I see this. Is there an ornamental piece in the middle?
No, I wrapped a few warps. Yes. Yeah, I don't know why I made a hole. And it's kind of.
I love it. It's so exciting. I actually could even hanging in the air and allowing the other side to have a voice.
Yes, and this is actually me and some of my students are doing a group show right now in the Twin Cities, and this is in the show. And one of my students said, "How did you do this? How did you do that?" And I don't know. So just there's nothing you cannot do.
Yes, and the other piece makes me want to go in my backyard and pick up some hydrangeas and dry some of those stems, because the way it's such a beautiful layout that reminds me of landscape.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, these are all papers, and also, yeah, dried hydrangea stems are also given by a student. And this was also in a different show, and then they displayed on the window. So the shadow was actually so beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't have a good picture, but I made this kind of piece, 3 of them, and they put on the windows, and I really like the shadow of this piece.
And I also can sense a scent that, some pieces that you make have different idea of smell, if it's wool or if it's yarn. And I think that with the paper yarn and the stems, they'll be a really wonderful, earthy, fresh fragrance to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it feels totally different. Yeah.
And I also wanted to move to a topic very dear to you and my heart, and that is opening sayuri weaving or the arts to people who are born different, to different families who give them different options, who needs to be able to go into a universal space and create. And my heart is so open to my work with people who are diagnosed or just born with different abilities, that I was hoping you can share with the audience and myself and open your heart about what is it about working with people who experience different reality in a society. How is it for you? Please share.
Before I started Sayuri, I didn't know anything about people with disabilities, especially mental. My father has a little bit of physical disabilities, but he was the only one, like need a little bit of help. So when I first went to the Sayuri studio in Osaka, it's inclusive. So everybody's there. It doesn't matter if whether you have disabilities or not. And especially the first day I went there, still tradition. Usually Saturday, people with mental disabilities are there with their parents. Some of them bring their parents to weave together. And then I started working after I finished 1-year course and I got a certification to teach. I started working at the Sayuri office, and I actually had a coworker who has autism. He's actually famous among Sayuri weavers in Japan. And I learned how to talk to him. Like, he usually had to leave at 4 and go home. We stay a little longer, but his time was 4 is for him to go home. And how you tell him to go home makes it different. One way he irritates. One way he listens and he goes home. So I didn't know anything about that kind of things. And sometimes, he shook his, body, he screams, not just him, everybody had some kind of expressions. And for me, it was unusual at first. But this particular guy, he one day said, May 13, 1937 was Friday. And I checked, it was right. So, he's smart. And in many ways, he's smart. He can organize perfectly, So he has a very good talent. His weavings is just so beautiful. So I learned about them, how you can interact, how you say it, it's important.
It's very true
You have to be creative.
Yeah, I agree that we become the students when we meet people with different communication styles. And as we realize how to tune up our frequency to make it comfortable and with the connection, magic always happens, as I'm sure in the preparation of these pieces. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the pieces that we're looking at?
Yes, the one on the left, my friend who loves going up north in Minnesota, almost close to the Canadian border. She belongs to YMCA, and they have a nice retreat campsite. So she invited me last 2 years to do a women's art retreat. So this piece, white birch tree.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's what, one of the participants expressed. So this is from 2 years ago, but the last year, actually many of them went outside, grabbed pine cones, pine trees, and then they just somehow attached. And I think even this white, she didn't go outside, but she used this thicker white wall to express her, white birch bark tree. So it's a very nice retreat that some people actually, I came here to weave. So that was, that made me my day. So I'm hoping to go back this October. It's a 3 nights retreat. And the one on the right is I was at a facility for people with mental illness. And third week or so when I went back, this guy showed me, look at this. So he attached all these feathers, and he showed me how, he created an owl. He attached the Google eyes and nose, and, I didn't know. So I was there every week for, I think, 4 weeks or 5. And then he was working on it while I wasn't there. So it was so fun that, when he finished weaving, he didn't know what it was. But maybe looking at it all, every day, and he kind of think about, oh, it's an owl. So he expressed and used what he has around him. Very good. So he was very happy.
It's a wonderful piece.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try to catch up some more.
These are the old school. It's a private school. They have a system that they invite one teaching artist and then just teach whole school from the kindergarten to high school. And I love going to schools and then let kids work themselves. Especially like this, big kids are teaching little kids. I'm not teaching the little kids.
Amazing.
And the teachers are not teaching. And I always try to be careful before I go to schools or, when job coach is around. I say, please do not say you screwed up or you made a mistake, something negative. Please do not say it. Please do not jump in and help right away. I know it's easier to go jump in and help, but just try 3 steps behind, observe them, because I only told them, please do not break the loom. That's the only negative thing. That's the only rule. So watch them. And, that's the miracle happens. So, I don't have many rooms that each children have, one room. So usually 2 or 3 kids have to share a room. I don't even tell them how to, be a pair or how to work together. They figure out. Like one kid was doing the pedals. Even he's using her hands to push. And then one person was just doing this. And then one boy was throwing the shuttle. So they know how to work together. We don't need to teach everything and just let them figure out.
So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. So I like that all the heads are, coming into the one room. And I like this, big kids teach little kids, no adults.
Absolutely. Peer teaching has always been so much more effective in my experience too. And for those of us in the audience who are educators, how many looms do you bring to deal with a classroom?
Mm-hmm. I can do up to 12.
Wow.
So usually they have to, 2 or 3 people a room. And then maybe like older kids, like in middle school, high school, they kind of take turn. But the little school, the younger kids, they actually share.
I'm just thinking about stringing those looms, 12 looms, and look at these beauties.
Yeah, she's a particular girl, lady. I've known her since she was in middle school. Probably she was 14 when I first met her. She has very severe disabilities, and she's not verbal, and she cannot even pick up the shuttle. And because of COVID, usually before COVID, pre-COVID, she usually goes to a facility for people with disabilities, but they do a beautiful job. They have visual arts and performing arts. They do theater. Right. And so it's a very special place. Then she weaves, she paints, she takes some workshops. And because they closed, they haven't reopened yet. So she started coming here twice a week.
So her weaving is a hand-over-hand process.
Yes. So Saori looms, many Saori weavers know that Saori loom have attachment that even though she cannot pick up the shuttle, we have the tray that she can slide.
Does she have a communication device to be able to identify?
No. So that. Yeah, so the lady behind her is a PCA. She's been working with her for, every day, Monday through Friday, for 4 or 5 hours every day for over a year now. And she, even though I know her a long time, I only get, see her, just chunk of time. So this PCA can do, so she cannot even grab a color from here. We usually say 3 colors. And then which do you like? And then the PCA says, if you like pink, look at me. If she looks at her, that's what she wants.
That's right. It's a yes and no.
Yes. Yep. And then she stays for 2 hours, and sometimes she gets, so I have to have a variety of things to offer.
Right.
Yeah. So she actually started teaching, learning the drumming too.
That's fantastic. I'm sure that the vibration of drumming is...
Yeah, she can stand up because weaving is sitting. So sometimes, you need refresh. Your body needs refresh. So let's stand up and make a noise and hit.
Jackie, I'd like to respectfully leave time for some questions and interaction, but I couldn't help but sharing with the audience the slides.
Oh, yes. Yes, this is a very... special picture that last year, January 2nd, I actually wanted to take this room to Walker Art Center, which is a contemporary art center in Minneapolis. She was 3 that time, and she came with her big sister and her friend. So the 2 big girls are about 8 or 9 years old. So they are weaving.
Oops. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, they are weaving, and her mom and I tried to help her, like, oh, you can sit on my lap, or I can help you. She didn't want any help. She wanted to weave like her, sister, no help. So I said, okay, then you can do whatever you want. And she was sitting for a few minutes. And she noticed, maybe I don't want to sit down, and just wrapped around the loom. So her mom...
I thought we had a video of her doing that. Here it is. Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, her mom starts saying, oh, I'm sorry. Don't do it. But I said, no, please let her, be.
Look at that.
She's having fun. She's expressing herself. That's her weaving. So it was so nice wonderful to watch. I didn't actually want to cut the piece. I wanted to leave that, pickle room, but I had to cut. But it was something like I learned that, even 3 years old, they can express 100%. No help.
But Chiaki, you are an absolute joy, and I'm sure
Thank you.
that
Well, thank you for guiding me.
it's just so inspiring to see how joy attracts joy. And I also love the fact that you have aluminum looms, because when you work in healthcare, you need to sterilize everything. So those folding, I've seen Raya work with those.
Yeah.
Those folding aluminum looms can go far into transplant rooms and bring a lot of light. And I can't wait to see your next workshops and be involved in your life. And I urge anyone to please ask questions. Let us know. Ask us anything.
Yeah, thank you
very
so much.
much.
It was fun.